Hey, in this episode, we're super excited to have on Blake Ryan Hawkins. He's the CEO and founder of Freedom Hawk. They're a Houston-based real estate investment company that focuses on market acquisition and dispositions. So they do wholesaling. And we're going to hear about his transition from a fitness instructor where he was doing just amazing things in that industry and his transition into going full-time into real estate. He'll share with us the way that he sources deals. We'll hear the best approach to obtaining those sort of leads. And we'll also find out whether you should go part-time or full-time at the beginning, just realistic expectations in the industry and how he's going to scale that business. So stay tuned. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and comment below with any questions that you have. Go ahead and also check out our partner, Element Studios. That's EL3 MENT Studios. They do great corporate headshots and real estate photography. Go ahead and check them out. Three, two, one. All right, everyone, welcome back to an episode of the John Gill Podcast Show. Super excited to have today Blake Ryan. He is the CEO and founder of Freedom Hawk, and they're a Houston-based real estate off-market acquisition and disposition firm, and super excited to have you here today, Blake. How are you?
Thank you, sir, man. I'm doing fantastic. It was awesome connecting with you. You know, obviously we connected on Instagram, and it's an honor to be here on the podcast, man. I'm excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Blake, why don't you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about how you got started into real estate? Because from what I saw, you were in the fitness industry for quite some time. You did some great things there. You served over about 10,000 sessions, had 300 clients. Mm-hmm. And that all happened in a 10-year period, right, at 4 different locations?
Yeah, so I started, my fitness journey personally right out of high school. I graduated in 2003. I lost 60 pounds, went on this fitness journey, and got super into the whole fitness thing. And, obviously me being young, trying to look for a career opportunity, personal training was a no-brainer. So I got into personal training. It was very natural for me. Started off at 24 Hour Fitness. I was there for 10 years, and I was in the Friendswood, Texas location. Great clientele base, and just trained there for 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And then they moved me to 3 other locations as a fitness manager. So basically, I was kind of like overseeing the other trainers, helping them with their processes. Helping them, better serve their clients. And so being a fitness trainer, it was awesome, very, very passionate about it. It was very gratifying to be able to help people make that transformation. But I started growing on a personal level. I'm 35 now, around 28, 29. I started looking more at the business side of things. Mm-hmm. And so then, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, there it is. You have to. Robert Kiyosaki.
That was a life-changing moment for me. And anyways, I ended up leaving the fitness industry in 2016. And it was just the right time. I just knew my heart wasn't in it anymore. I wanted something bigger. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. I was, honestly kind of just left, spur of the moment type of situation. I knew it was kind of leading to that point. And I actually went and sold cars for a year. So I went and I sold cars. I didn't know what to do, right? And I know you can make a lot of money selling cars, or at least that's what I was told. And I had a buddy of mine that worked at a dealership, so I went and sold cars, and it was like one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it was the door that got me into real estate. So I was selling cars, became pretty successful at it, had some really big months, and I ended up selling a truck to a real estate investor. And I delivered the truck. He had some things done to it, right? He had like some window tint and all these things. So we had to deliver the truck to his property. And I'm 35. He's a year older than me. So at the time I'm 33, somewhere around there. And I delivered the truck. The guy lives on this beautiful home on the water. Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, man, what do you do? He's like, I'm in real estate. Yeah. I'm like, well, man, this is where I gotta be.
Right.
And so I just automatically assumed that he was a real estate agent because I wasn't very educated in the real estate space. I was like, oh, he must be a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. This was September of 2017. Anyways, I keep doing my thing at the dealership. I'm selling cars. I had some real, like I said, really, really big months there. But I knew that that's not where I knew it was just a stepping stone. Right.
Sure.
And so I ended up calling the guy I sold the truck to in December of that year. I just called him on a Friday night after I left my shift at the dealership. And I was like, hey man, listen, I want to get into real estate. What do I got to do? How do I get there? I want to be successful. And so anyways, I met him at his office the next week, and I pretty much just kind of just went off and just dove in.
That's
100%.
Awesome. Just like that.
Just like that, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's interesting. So you were in the car sales business. I see that you also attended Cardone University. So it seems like, do you follow Grant a little bit?
I'm a big Cardone guy. I've been to the last 3 growth conferences. Okay. I'm actually a licensee, so we actually I have another business, a sales and business training business with my partner who does like the business side of things. He helps coach businesses on their profit and loss and their taxes and all that. And I do the sales part of it.
Got it.
So we actually facilitate that information through just small businesses here in Houston. Mm-hmm. And we don't have many clients right now. It's just something that we're kind of getting off the ground, but we're super passionate about it.
That's awesome. Well, I see a lot of similarities, and which is why I also wanted to bring it up. I did read Grant Cardone's 10X book, and which was amazing. And he also was in the car salesman. He was a car salesman at one point in time too, and
absolutely,
and then just plunged, and now he's just he's doing amazing things. And I see a lot of parallels in your story with that specifically. So that's awesome. And now you left fitness in 2016, and then it seems like you just went full speed into the real estate. Obviously, having seen that gentleman there that with that house definitely is a huge motivator. And how was the actual transition? Would you say it was a little tough? Tell us your experience. How difficult was that for you?
It was really tough. It was really tough. The first year was really hard. Mm-hmm. I had a little bit of money saved, so that helped me. But financially, it was really tough because I dove right in, and obviously what we do, we're dealing with off-market properties.
Right.
So there's a lot of things in that industry, in that space, that you don't know until you find out that you don't know. Sure, right? Like dealing with title issues, and people try. I do a contract with a seller, and it's not even the right guy. It's I've had fraudulent sellers.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's just little things in that space that you can't really get from a book.
Right.
And it's a heavy marketing game, right? Because we're responsible for gathering the leads and generating those motivated sellers. So in the beginning, I started literally just door knocking. I mean, that's how I got most of my deals. I would go and knock on doors, basically of people that what we call absentee owners. Mm-hmm. So they would own a property, but I'd go to their residence and I'd say, hey, Mr. Seller, my name is Blake. Look, I'm not trying to bother you. I know you own this property off of 123 Street. Hey, I'm just seeing if you'd be interested in selling. And that's how I get deals.
Interesting. And what was the percentage of people that actually, what would you say the percentage of people that actually responded to that? I mean, let's say of 10, maybe 1 or 2 might want to sell. Or
I would say the response rate was actually pretty well, because people they tend to respect the fact that you actually show up at their house.
Really?
So people, it was kind of counterintuitive, because I thought that showing up at someone's house, I would be pissing a lot of people off.
Right.
It was actually the opposite. I would show up and they're like, you know what, Blake? I have a stack of mail of all these other investors that send me all this. You're the only person that's ever actually showed up at my door.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So I would get deals that way just because of the hustle, right? And people respected that. So the response was 90% positive. You would always have that one or two people, right, that were like, get off my property, right? But 90% of the time, people were really positive and receptive. Now, as far as the conversion rate, you're probably looking at, out of 10 doors that 10 doors that are answered, you'll probably get one or two legitimate leads out of that.
That's amazing.
So it made it worth its time, but it's not it's not ideal as far as scalability. But it's what I had to do in the beginning, because I had no marketing money and I didn't really understand the real estate space. And I just know if I can get in front of people, because I know that I'm good with people, if I can get in front of people, I know I can make something happen. And that was kind of my mindset. I didn't know how to do contracts. I didn't even know what earnest money was at first. I had no idea.
That is
I had no
amazing.
clue.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's such a great example that literally you can just take a plunge, a leap of faith, and then just learn. And I think half of what the biggest challenge is just doing it. And
Absolutely.
right. That's
Absolutely.
amazing. And how have things changed? Or do you continue to just do the door knocking? Or do you do other different marketing techniques? What would you say is kind of the best approach for your company?
I've now made this a legitimate company as far as the obviously the structure.
Mm-hmm.
We have W-2 people here. We
Wow.
we do payroll. We want to build this out to be a legitimate business here. So door knocking is not scalable. So we don't really door knock. I consider we're basically an inside sales organization. I mean, we do 95% of our business, through the phone. We lock up deals through DocuSign. If we need to go see the seller, just because that will help the deal, then we will do that. I mean, tomorrow we have 4 or 5 appointments, but ideally we are working to build ourselves as, hey, we're an inside sales organization. We want to be able to lock up deals virtually, because we want to be able to scale this and go to other markets on a virtual basis.
Amazing.
So I have a call center in the Philippines. And it took me about a year to build it up to where it is now. And I have some really, really good people over there. I mean, we're like family, but we talk every day. I pay them really well, so that way, they do good work and they do phenomenal work. So the call center basically just generates the leads. The leads come into our acquisition department. Joe, Rosie here, and I have one more, Brandon, who's working at home because of the Corona situation. His kids are home from school.
Yeah.
And those 3 guys, they go through the leads. I still do acquisitions myself because I like to stay on top of it. And then we lock up deals, us 4. And then obviously we dispo them out and sell them to other investors. So yeah, we want to build an inside sales organization to where we can go into different markets.
That's amazing. So we mentioned that earlier on, that you basically, you primarily deal just with strictly off-market deals. And so you're wholesaling. And
absolutely,
can you explain to someone who's listening what exactly wholesaling is? What makes that different from being a broker or someone who's just learning about the real estate investing side of the business? What's a wholesaler? Can you explain that?
Absolutely. So wholesaling is you're basically you're taking you're creating an opportunity that wasn't necessarily there. So what we're doing is we contact people that have properties that there's specific potential motivations there. And I don't want to get too granular in the weeds on that, but there's some certain things that we're going to target. We reach out to these homeowners, and these are people that they do not have their property listed. They're not even really for sale by owners. They're just properties that are off market. We generate an opportunity. We reach out to them. We say, hey, listen, you have this property, off of ABC Street. Would you be interested in selling? Would you, be open to an offer? And that's kind of how we filter it out. And the people that are interested, they definitely will let you know. And so what we're basically doing is we're servicing a market, off market. These are people that have properties that are that obviously they usually need a lot of work, and there's a lot of situational things that are going on that tend to be on the stressful side of life, right? So they need the money.
Yeah.
Me and Joe just did a deal this week where there was a lady who has been living in the property for 45 years, and her husband is in a nursing home, and so they need the money. They're strapped for cash. Yeah. This family's from Mexico, but they've been over here obviously for 40 years, but their funds are at a point to where it's tough. So, but here's the challenge. The challenge is she's attached to the home. So she wants to sell, but she doesn't want to move. Right.
Right.
And so this is where we come in as problem solvers. So for us, what I did is we found the price that would work for us and for her. We identified that price. We went ahead and put it under contract. I have a buyer who loves to buy properties and keep the tenants there. So what I did is I brought him in. We did the deal basically 2-in-1. I brought him in so he already knows I'm going to wholesale it to him. I brought him in with her and I said, hey, listen, and so we negotiated the sales price and we negotiated the rental terms. So it works for him, it works for her, and it works for us.
That's amazing.
And we got it done. So now we're able to, we're going to close on this next week. We're going to pay her $61,800. So she'll get that much money at closing. Plus she already has her lease agreement set up for, to stay at the property. So it's like a completely win-win. So our job, in a sense, is we're problem solvers. And so we go into properties that are, unorthodox, outside the box, and we just try to piece things together. Mm-hmm. And as a wholesaler, our job is basically to be that problem solver. So, okay, this is what the seller needs. This is what the buyer needs. Right. Obviously, we need to make a profit, but our profit comes from piecing these things together and putting that puzzle piece together. And that's that's what wholesaling is. But to keep it even more simple, you're basically buying discounted properties and you're selling them off to another investor. That's really what it is.
Got it. And I mean, but there's some risk in that too, right? Because once you go under contract, you're essentially having to probably close on that, essentially, right?
Correct. You need to perform. So we are very, very, I don't want to say conservative, but we're very careful about just locking up something under contract if the numbers don't make sense.
Got it.
Right. And so there's a lot of on the negative side of wholesaling, there's a lot of investor or wholesalers that will lock up deals at a price that is not legitimate. Right. So for us, if we can't do a deal, we tell them straightforward, this price is just too high. We can't do it. But if I know that the price is right, selling the property and getting it closed is never a problem. It is never a problem because the numbers are there. There's always buyers.
Absolutely. And where would you say most of the buyers are coming from? Are they local? Are they out of state?
Yeah. So for here, our experience has been mostly local because right now we're just in the Houston market. What I want to do is we need to get a little bit stronger here. And then once we get to a certain point, I want to move us into probably the San Antonio market, which is about 3 hours away. And then we'll just duplicate this over in San Antonio. So we're dealing with 90% of the time, it's local Houston investors. I have done deals with investors in Las Vegas and California, in other states, bigger guys that will come in and just, boom, they got the money to buy it up. Mm-hmm. But 90% of the time we're dealing with local investors here in Houston.
That's awesome. Well, let's add Chicago to that list.
Let's do it, man. I'm ready. Right. Let's do it.
That's awesome. And what kind of properties are you tying up? Are they residential, commercial?
Yeah. So right now it's mainly single family residential homes. Okay. But we just went into the multifamily space. So we're positioning ourselves to be able to wholesale multifamily units because I have the buyers now. I have basically there was a demand for it, and that's kind of how it just all was created. I had a bunch of people reaching out to me, hey Blake, I'm not interested in these little bitty tiny deals. Mm-hmm. I want the 50 units, the 60 units, the 100 unit deals. And then obviously they have their partners and investors. So because of that demand, now we're marketing to multifamily apartments here in Houston, and we're getting a great feedback. And we actually have one right now that we're going to be locking up here shortly. We're still negotiating some details, but what my goal is to go 70% single family, 30% multifamily. That's where I want our business to be here in the future.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely the multifamily is something that we're personally interested in. So
absolutely, man. It's and that's where you want to be, right? I mean, right. It's kind of for me, long term, I want to be able to own multifamily units. And so this is just another way to get into that.
Absolutely.
Because, obviously by wholesaling those, there's an educational process too. And it positions me to be in a better place to be able to do something like that. So yeah, I'm super excited about multifamily.
Sure. And with everything that's going on right now in the world, how has your company, how have you adjusted to the changes? Do you see that there's more sellers out there? Is it a little bit more quiet? What are you seeing?
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing a mix, right? I mean, we're still doing deals, so we haven't seen a slowdown as far as acquisitions.
Okay.
Haven't really seen a slowdown in dispositions. What I have come across, and my team has come across, is there are a few times when sellers are a little hesitant to do things because of the Corona frenzy, and a lot of it's not super logical, but it's understandable, right? And so we are getting some sellers that are like, Blake, I am interested in selling this property, but man, I really want to get this Corona stuff to calm down. I don't feel comfortable doing things. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace and things like that. So we have seen a little bit of that, but our business hasn't really changed a whole lot. I think what we do, in a sense, is sort of in its own bubble, sort of. I mean, what we have seen though, Jonathan, is there's a lot of hard money lenders here in Houston that have gone out of business, and I'm not a hard money expert, but I've talked to some guys that are in the Houston area, guys that I've done some hard money loans with personally, and it's because these guys were basically, in a sense, brokers, so they really didn't have the money. They would sell the note off, right?
Right.
So because of the Wall Street and everything, a lot of these guys have gone out of business. So we have seen a lot of hard money guys out of business, but the real players are still there. But our business is still going, man, and I feel like it will only get better. And this sounds not to be negative, but when there's crises or there's stress because of what we do, we tend to be a viable option for people to be able to liquidate and actually provide, financial solutions for them. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. I'm thinking it may improve, the next 60, 90 days.
So someone who's looking to invest into real estate today, that's kind of going through a transitionary period, they want to leave their current business and just take the plunge. What would you recommend they do? Go in full-time, part-time?
Man. Okay. So, I mean, my philosophy is all in, right? I believe you got to go all in, but there's a level of responsibility with that too. I would say, if you have a family, you make sure that you have some reserves.
Absolutely.
Before you go all in.
Yeah.
Because if you can't, you got to be able to at least pay the bills for the next 3 to 4 months because it might be 3 to 4 months before you get a deal.
Yeah.
What I mean? So in my opinion, make sure you have 3 to 4 months saved up where you can at least take care of the basics. Now, if you're single, go all in. Go all in because and for me, I have a 12-year-old son, but I'm not married. So I, in a sense, had that ability to be able to basically just, bet on myself. Right. But if you have family and heavy responsibilities, make sure you have your foundation taken care of. But then once you can do 3 to 4 months and have your bills paid, man, there's nothing to lose. Go all in.
Absolutely.
and get in and just dive in 100% and get it done.
That's awesome. So how can anyone get a hold of you? How can they reach you if they'd like to get some deals and be put on your list there?
So I'm active on social media. So on my Instagram is freedomhawk_. You can reach me on there. I'm always responsive. You can find me on Facebook, Blake Ryan Hawkins. Also, we have Freedom Hawk on Facebook also here in Houston.
Freedom Hawk or straight Freedom
It's
Hawk?
It's just Freedom Hawk. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then my phone numbers are all, on every social media. It's on there. So you can always reach out to me directly. I'm open to collaborate and connect with people, man, and be able to expand where I'm at.
That's awesome. And you've got a podcast as well, don't you?
We do. We just started it. We recorded 4 episodes so far.
Okay.
And we're going to actually start releasing those episodes here in the next few weeks. And it's me and my buddy Nick. He's more of the technical guy,
Okay.
so I just kind of show up and just start talking. But he's the one that has everything planned out and has all the
equipment,
all the stuff that you actually need to have a successful podcast.
There it is.
Yeah. So we're going to be launching that here in a few weeks too. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Blake, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. It's been great, super informative, and can't wait to have you back on and just see the progression of, of your company. And next time I'm talking to you, hopefully you're going to be in all states here in the U.S.
I can't wait, man. That's the goal. That's the goal. Absolutely.
Well,
yes, sir.
Well, thanks again, man. It's been great. I do appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, Jonathan. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right, man. Thank you, man. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.